The night I realized how much I had to lose. Nothing was actually wrong yet. That was the part that still gets me. The house was warm. The kitchen lights were low, and Dana was standing at the stove in one of my old college sweatshirts, stirring sauce like she had done 1,000 times before. Our youngest was at the table building something out of broken pretzel sticks. Our daughter was half listening to music while pretending to do homework, and my oldest was arguing with me about whether we should add a second delivery van before spring. It looked like a life no one could shake. Back then, I believed that too. My name is Ryan Keller. I was 47, and for most of my adult life, I had worked like a man trying to outrun the kind of childhood he came from. My father rented. My mother counted grocery money in silence. I remember heat getting shut off one winter and pretending it was camping so my little sister would stop crying. I swore I'd never live like that again. By the time all this started, I owned 2 home renovation supply stores in western Pennsylvania. Not glamorous places. Fluorescent lights, concrete floors, forklifts whining in the back. The smell of lumber dust and pallet wrap in the air by 6 in the morning. But they were mine. I had built them slowly. One customer, one contractor, one ugly risk at a time. Roofers, plumbers, landlords, retirees fixing porches, guys flipping duplexes on tight budgets. They came to me because I knew their names and I paid attention. It gave us a good life. Our house was paid off. Not some giant showpiece, but solid. Brick colonial on a quiet road with maples out front. And a deck I rebuilt myself one summer, after Dana said the old one felt soft underfoot. We had savings, college funds, a family calendar on the fridge so crowded with practices, dentist appointments, and school events that looked like evidence in a criminal case. It was messy in the way stable lives usually are. Dana and I had been married 23 years, long enough that people stopped asking how we met and just assumed we had always belonged together. She handled the kind of corporate work I never fully understood. Budgets, regional meetings, leadership calls, those polished emails full of phrases that sounded expensive. I handled inventory, payroll, delivery problems, burst pipes, snow in the parking lot, and customers who wanted contractor pricing without contractor counts. It worked because it was balanced. Or at least, that's what I told myself. I thought the marriage had settled into something dependable, not thrilling, not cinematic, but real. Shared coffee before sunrise. Her reading glasses left on the bathroom counter. My boots by the mudroom door. A hand on my shoulder when she passed behind me. Bills paid on time. Kids fed. Plans made. The kind of life that doesn't feel fragile because you built every inch of it yourself. I remember standing at the sink that night, rinsing a wine glass, looking at my family through the reflection in the window over the backyard. I actually thought, this is solid. That was the word in my head. Solid. I had no idea how quickly a life can start a crack without making a sound. Dana came back from Atlanta on a Thursday, just after 6. I remember because I was in the garage breaking down a shipment invoice on the hood of my truck when I heard her rental car pull in. It had rained earlier, and the driveway was still dark and slick, reflecting the porch light in broken yellow streaks. I walked out expecting the usual version of her after a work trip. Tired, irritated, carrying too many bags, ready to complain about delayed flights and stale hotel coffee. Instead, she stepped out smiling. Not a relieved smile. Not the kind you give your husband after 5 days away. This was different, sharper, private. She looked charged, like she had walked into our driveway with a secret warming her from the inside. Her blazer was folded over one arm. Her heels clicked clean against concrete. And even before she kissed me on the cheek, I caught a perfume I didn't recognize. Something lighter than what she normally wore. Expensive. Deliberate. Atlanta was productive, she said, like she was reporting quarterly growth. That was the first thing that bothered me. Not hello. Not I missed you. Just that smooth, polished tone. Productive. She kept using words like that all evening. High level. Transformative. Alignment. She talked about the workshop like she had come back from some private upgrade the rest of us couldn't understand. At dinner, the kids asked normal questions. Did she have fun? Was the hotel nice? Did she bring anything back? Dana answered, but her attention kept slipping to her phone every time it lit up beside her plate. She never fully looked at it in front of us. Just turned the screen a little, enough to check, then laid it face down again. That was new. Dana had never been secretive with her phone. Careless, if anything. She used to leave it on kitchen counters, in coat pockets, under couch cushions. Now it stayed within reach like it contained instructions for survival. Later that night, while I brushed my teeth, she stood in our bathroom in a silk robe I hadn't seen before, dabbing cream under her eyes and smiling at herself in the mirror. Not in a vain way, in a satisfied one, like she approved of whoever she had become in those 5 days. "You seem different," I said. She met my eyes in the mirror. "Different how?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Lighter." That made her smile widen just a little. "Maybe I'm finally thinking bigger," she said. I remember the exact feeling that settled into my chest then. Not panic, not jealousy, just a small, cold shift, like putting your foot on a stair in the dark and finding out it isn't there. She climbed into bed beside me, but somehow felt farther away than when she'd been 600 miles south. I lay awake listening to her breathe, staring at the ceiling fan turning slow in the dark, and for the first time in 23 years, I had the quiet, unwelcome thought that my wife had come home carrying something she hadn't left with. The first week after Atlanta, I told myself I was overthinking it. People come back from those corporate things energized. New ideas, new routines. That's normal. I'd seen it before with contractors after conventions. They come back talking bigger, acting sharper, then settle back into reality after a few days. Dana didn't settle. She accelerated. It started with small changes. Clothes first. Nothing dramatic. Just different. More fitted. Cleaner lines. Neutral colors that looked expensive without trying too hard. She started laying outfits out the night, before like she was preparing for something that required precision. Then came the schedule. "Client dinners," she said, the first time she got home after 10. I was at the kitchen island going over invoices. The house quiet except for the hum of the fridge. When she walked in, she smelled like wine and that same unfamiliar perfume. "How'd it go?" I asked. "Good." "Productive," she said, already moving past me. No details, no names, just that same polished language. After that, the dinners became regular. Tuesdays, then Thursdays, sometimes both. Always clients, always important. Always just vague enough that I couldn't grab onto anything solid. She joined a Pilates studio 2 towns over. Boutique place. Early morning classes, she said. I offered to drive by once, joking about finally seeing what all the hype was about. "No," she said too quickly, then softened it. "It's small. Kinda private." That word stuck with me. Private. At home. She started guarding her phone in a way that didn't match the life we'd built. It never left her hand. If she stepped into another room, it went with her. If she went to shower, it sat on the counter within arm's reach. Screen always down. Notifications silenced. One night, I walked into the laundry room without knocking. She was standing there, back to me, shoulders slightly tense, phone angled away. She turned too fast. "Hey," I said like nothing was wrong. "Hey," she replied, already locking the screen. We held eye contact a second too long. Then she smiled like she had remembered to. The kids noticed before I said anything. My oldest caught me in the garage one Saturday morning while I was reorganizing a pallet rack. "Mom's acting weird," he said, leaning against the doorframe. I didn't look at him right away. "Weird how?" He shrugged, but it wasn't casual. Like, she's excited about something, but won't say what. That hit harder than I expected, because it matched exactly what I'd been feeling and hadn't said out loud. Excited, not stressed, not overwhelmed, not distant in the way people drift apart slowly. This was different. This was someone standing on the edge of something new and choosing not to tell us. That night, I sat at the kitchen table long after everyone went to bed, the house dark except for the light above the stove. I replayed everything. The clothes, the late nights, the phone, the words she used now, the way she looked at herself in the mirror. Individually, none of it proved anything. Together, it formed a pattern I couldn't ignore anymore. And for the first time, I stopped asking myself if something was wrong. I started asking what it was. I didn't go looking for proof right away. For a while, I just watched. But patterns have a way of tightening until you either ignore them or you follow them. It was a Wednesday morning when I saw the first real crack. I was at the office desk in the back of the store, going through the shared credit card statement. Payroll had cleared, inventory orders were lined up, everything routine. Then a charge caught my eye, a seafood place downtown. Not unusual by itself. We went out sometimes. But the date didn't match anything I remembered. And the amount, too high for one person, too clean for a business meeting. No note, no explanation. I didn't say anything. I kept scrolling. 2 days later, flowers, not from a grocery store. A boutique florist I recognized because one of my contractors used them for his wife. Expensive arrangements. Same card. Then another charge. A lakeside inn. Not out of town. Not a trip. Right here in our own city. I leaned back in the chair slowly, staring at the screen. The office was quiet except for the ticking wall clock and the faint echo of a forklift moving somewhere out on the floor. That was the moment something shifted from suspicion to direction. That wasn't random spending. That was a pattern. That night, I tested her. How was the networking breakfast? I asked casually while we cleared dishes. She didn't hesitate. Good. Early, though. What place did you go to? She named a cafe. Confident. Immediate. Too smooth. I nodded like it made sense. Later, after she went upstairs, I walked to her tote bag hanging on the back of the chair. Same one she used for work, gym, everything. I didn't rush. I didn't dig like I was searching. I just checked. Inside, between a planner and a folded receipt, I found it. A valet ticket. Different location. Different time than her breakfast. And under that, half tucked into a side pocket, a concert stub. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, holding it between my fingers. Date, time, venue. None of it matched anything she had told me. I put everything back exactly the way I found it. Same angle, same fold, same position in the bag. Then I turned off the kitchen light and stood in the dark for a moment, letting it settle. Upstairs, I could hear the shower running. Normal sounds. Normal house. Nothing looked broken. But now I had something solid. Not a feeling. Not a guess. Proof that at least part of her life, the part she described so cleanly every day, wasn't real. And once you see that, you don't stop. You just start looking harder. She told me on a Sunday afternoon. The house was quiet for once. The kids were out, one at practice, one with friends, the youngest at a birthday party. I was in the living room going through a stack of supplier contracts when she walked in and said, "Can we talk?" There was something off in her voice. Not nervous, not emotional. Controlled. I set the papers down slowly. Yeah. She didn't sit right away. She stood near the window, arms folded tight across her body like she was holding something in place. "I'm pregnant," she said. Just like that. No build-up, no softness, no smile. The words hung in the room, heavy and wrong. I looked at her, waiting for the rest of it. The part where she laughed nervously. Say it was unexpected, but okay, something that matched what that sentence usually means. It didn't come. Instead, she looked tense, almost irritated. Like this wasn't good news. It was a complication. I paused, choosing my words carefully. I didn't think we were trying. We weren't, she said quickly. Too quickly. For years, she had been clear about that. 3 kids was enough. She had said it more than once. Always firmly. We were done. That chapter was closed. And now this. I leaned back slightly, watching her instead of reacting. When did you find out? A few days ago. You didn't say anything. I needed time to think, she replied, eyes drifting away from mine. That cold shift in my chest came back, sharper this time. Think about what? I asked. She hesitated. Everything, she said. This is the lot. It didn't sound like a woman talking about having a child with her husband. It sounded like someone dealing with a problem. I let a few seconds pass. Have you seen a doctor yet? Yes. When's the next appointment? I'll handle it, she said, cutting in just a little too fast again. I caught that. I can come with you. I said, calm. We can figure out together. No, she said. The word landed harder than anything else she'd said so far. She softened it immediately after. It's just early. I don't want to make a big deal out of it yet. But the damage was already done. I nodded slowly like I accepted that. Inside, something was locking into place. The timing didn't sit right. The distance, the secrecy, the way she looked more stressed and relieved, the way she didn't want me anywhere near the process. And the thought came, clear and unwelcome. This might not be mine. I didn't say it out loud. I didn't accuse her. I didn't even change my tone. Okay, I said quietly. We'll take it one step at a time. She exhaled like she had been holding her breath. But I wasn't calming the situation. I was stepping back from it. That night, lying in bed beside her, I stared into the dark again, listening to the same steady breathing. Except now, every detail had weight. The trip, the late nights, the receipts, the lies, and now this, a pregnancy that felt less like a beginning and more like evidence. I didn't confront her. Not after the pregnancy. Not after the receipts. Not after the lies started lining up too cleanly to ignore. Instead, I started looking for something she had missed. People always miss something. It took 3 days. We had an old tablet in the house. Nothing important. Just something the kids used years ago for games and videos. It sat in a drawer in the office, mostly forgotten. I only found it because I was looking for a charger. When I turned it on, it lit up slower than I expected. Screen dim, battery barely holding. But it connected to the Wi-Fi automatically. And then it started syncing. Emails, calendar entries, notifications from apps Dana used every day. She must have logged into it years ago and never removed the account. I sat down, and I started reading. At first, it looked harmless. Work emails, meeting requests, corporate language that meant nothing to me. Then I saw a name that didn't belong. Garrett Sloan, not a co-worker I recognized, not someone she had ever mentioned. The subject line was simple. Looking forward to Atlanta. I opened it. The message wasn't explicit. It didn't need to be. The tone told me everything. Familiar, personal, careful, but not careful enough. I kept going. There were calendar entries that had been deleted from her phone, but still lived here. Private meetings, lunch blocks, travel adjustments that didn't match what she told me. Then I found the thread. Longer messages, not just logistics. Plans. One line stopped me completely. Once this trip happens, it'll be easier. We'll finally have time. I leaned back slowly, the tablet still glowing in my hands. This didn't start in Atlanta. Atlanta was the cover. They had planned this before she ever packed a suitcase. I kept scrolling. There were references to places I recognized from the credit card. The seafood restaurant, the Lakeside Inn, dates that matched perfectly. Every client dinner, every networking breakfast. Mapped out, deliberate. And then I found the part that changed everything. It wasn't about meetings. It wasn't about logistics. It was about leaving. We can't stay stuck like this forever. That's why I'm doing this now. Once things line up, I'm ready to start over. I read that message 3 times. Start over. Not fix things. Not work through something. Replace it. Replace this house. This life. This family. Me. I set the tablet down on the desk and just sat there for a minute, staring at nothing. No anger. Not yet. Just clarity. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't something that got out of control. It was built, planned, layer by layer, behind my back, while she sat across from me at dinner, while she slept next to me at night, while she looked me in the eye and talked about nothing being wrong. And the pregnancy. That wasn't a surprise either. It was just something that happened inside a plan I was never supposed to see. I picked the tablet back up, took screenshots of everything, and sent them to a new email address she didn't know existed. One by one, carefully, methodically, because by that point, I understood something very clearly. I wasn't dealing with a moment of betrayal. I was dealing with a second life, and if she had spent weeks, maybe months, building it, then I was going to take my time tearing it apart. I didn't rush it. For 2 days, I acted exactly the same. Up at 6, Coffee. Store by 7:30. Calls, orders, deliveries. Dinner at home. Conversations that meant nothing. I watched her move through the house like everything was still under control, like I didn't already know. On the third night, I printed everything. Emails, calendar entries, screenshots, receipts. I didn't organize them perfectly. I didn't need to. The volume spoke for itself. I laid them out on the dining room table after the kids went to bed. Then I waited. Dana walked in around 9, heels in one hand, phone in the other. She stopped the second she saw the table. "What is this?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I just pulled out a chair and sat down. "Sit," I said. She didn't move. "Dana," I repeated, calm. "Sit." She set her heels down slowly and lowered herself into the chair across from me. Her eyes moved over the papers. Fast at first, then slower. Recognition hit. I watched it happen. "What is this?" she asked again, but this time it wasn't confident. "It's everything," I said. Silence. I picked up one page and slid it toward her. "Atlanta wasn't a start," I said. "It was already planned." She swallowed but didn't speak. I slid another one forward. The dinners, the hotel, the messages. Her hand moved slightly, like she wanted to touch the paper, but stopped herself. "Garrett Sloan," I said evenly. "You want to explain that?" She exhaled sharply. "Ryan, it's not what—" "Don't." I cut in, not raising my voice. "Don't insult me with that." That stopped her. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she shifted strategies. "It just happened," she said. "Things have been complicated and—" I tapped the stack lightly. "No," I said. "It didn't happen. You built it." Her jaw tightened. I leaned back in the chair, watching her carefully. "You were planning to leave," I continued, "before Atlanta, before any of this looked real." She looked down, didn't deny it. That was all I needed. "And the pregnancy?" I asked. That's when she finally broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just cracked. "I didn't plan that," she said quietly. "Is it is?" I asked. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The silence stretched long enough to become confirmation. I nodded once. "Okay." She looked up fast, confused. "Okay." That word threw her off. She was waiting for anger, for shouting, for something she could react to. I gave her none of it. Instead, I stood up. "You're going to pack a bag," I said calmly. "Tonight." Her face changed instantly. "Ryan." "You're leaving," I continued, steady. "Now." "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't care." That landed. She stood up too, panic starting to bleed through. "We need to talk about this." "We just did." Her voice rose. "You can't just throw me out of my own house." I stepped closer, not aggressive, just controlled. "This house," I said quietly, "is the one you were planning to leave anyway." That shut her up. For a second, she just stared at me. Then came the last piece. "I was going to tell you," she said. I shook my head slightly. "No, you weren't." Another silence. Then I added, almost as an afterthought, "I saw the messages about North Carolina." That hit harder than everything else. Her eyes widened. "You were looking at houses." I continued, "Planning a move, a new life." She didn't even try to deny it, because she couldn't. Standing there in our dining room, surrounded by 23 years of history, she looked like someone who had just realized a plan she built in secret was no longer hers to control. "Pack your things," I said again. This time, she didn't argue. She just turned and walked upstairs. And for the first time since all of this started, the house felt quiet in a different way. Not peaceful. Empty. Telling the kids was the only part one couldn't plan. Everything else, evidence, timing, control, that I could handle. But this was different. There was no clean way to explain that their mother had already left us before she walked out the door. I sat them down the next evening, in the living room. Same couch. Same spot where we'd watched movies, argued over vacations, celebrated birthdays. It felt wrong to use that space for something like this. "She's not coming back right now," I said. I kept my voice even. No details. No accusations. Just facts. My oldest reacted first. He didn't ask questions. He just leaned forward, elbows on his knees, jaw tight. What did she do? He asked. Not what happened. He already knew it wasn't random. I held his gaze. Something she shouldn't have. He nodded once. That was enough for him. My daughter didn't say anything at first. She just sat there, arms crossed, staring at the floor like she was trying to disconnect from the room entirely. Then she stood up. Okay, she said quietly and walked upstairs. No tears. That scared me more than anything. The youngest didn't understand. When is she coming back? He asked. I paused. Not for a while. He frowned, trying to process something that didn't make sense yet. Did she go on another trip? I swallowed that answer. Something like that. He accepted it, because kids do, because they trust you to make things make sense later. That night, the house felt heavier than it ever had. Not because she was gone, because of what was left behind. A few days later, my daughter came into the kitchen while I was making coffee. Early morning. Quiet. She stood there for a second before speaking. I heard her, she said. I didn't turn right away. Heard what? On the phone. A while ago. I looked at her then. She said, once the baby comes, everything will finally change. The words landed slow, precise, final. I didn't react immediately. I just stood there, one hand on the counter, letting that sentence settle into everything I already knew. This wasn't panic. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a mistake that got out of control. She had been planning a future where that baby replaced this life. My daughter watched me carefully. I didn't say anything before, she added. I thought maybe I misunderstood. I nodded once. You didn't. She looked down, then back up. She wasn't coming back, was she? I held her gaze. No, I said, and that was the moment whatever small part of me that hoped this had been reckless, temporary, fixable, was gone, completely, because it wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was intention, and she hadn't just planned to leave me. She had planned to leave all of us. I hired a lawyer the next morning. Not someone loud, not someone theatrical. A quiet guy named Martin Hale who had the kind of office that didn't try to impress you, just clean lines, organized files, and the feeling that nothing slipped past him. I handed him everything. Emails, receipts, screenshots, timeline. He didn't react much while reading. Just nodded occasionally, made a few notes. This is good, he said finally. Very good for you. I didn't feel good. I felt precise. We filed immediately. From that point on, everything became structured, controlled, documented. I separated accounts, locked access where I could. Every dollar she had spent on the affair, restaurants, hotels, gifts, was tracked and added to the case. I wasn't trying to punish her. I was removing anything she thought she could walk away with. Weeks passed, then months. Dana stayed mostly silent. A few messages at first, short, careful, almost testing the water. I didn't respond. Communication went through lawyers only. I heard things, though. Garrett hadn't left his wife. Not officially. In fact, from what Martin dug up, his situation was already unstable before Dana. There were rumors, patterns, other situations handled quietly. That didn't surprise me. What did surprise me was how fast everything started collapsing. His wife found out. Not from me. From someone inside his company. And she didn't keep it private. It spread. Not everywhere, but enough. Enough that his name started carrying weight for the wrong reasons. Then came the test. I had it done the right way. Legal. Documented. No room for argument. The results came in on a gray Tuesday morning. I sat in my truck outside the store when I opened the envelope. I didn't rush. Didn't brace myself. I already knew. Still, I read it carefully. Probability of paternity, 0%. Clear, clinical, final. I folded the paper once and set it on the passenger seat. No anger, no relief, just confirmation. Later that week, Martin included it in the case file. Dana didn't contest it. She couldn't. Around the same time, Garrett disappeared from her life. No dramatic ending. No fight. No closure. He just stepped back. His own situation demanded it. Reputation. Legal exposure, family pressure, whatever version of a future he had sold her was gone. And just like that, the structure she had built everything on collapsed. Dana ended up alone. A newborn, no promotion, no relocation, no second life waiting on the other side. Just consequences. I didn't watch it happen. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to, because by that point I understood something clearly. People like her don't fall all at once. They unravel, slowly, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to hold on to. 2 years later, the house felt different, not because it had changed, because it was finally honest. The same brick walls, same kitchen, same deck I rebuilt with my own hands. But the weight that used to sit in the air, the quiet tension I didn't recognize back then, was gone. Mornings were simple again. Coffee at 6, orders by 7, my oldest at the table across from me, going over numbers like he had been doing it his whole life. He started helping at the store a few months after everything ended. At first, just small things, inventory, deliveries. Now he handled operations better than some of the guys I used to trust blindly. We expanded, too, picked up commercial supply contracts, bigger clients, steadier money, less chaos, the kind of growth that doesn't come from chasing, just from tightening what already works. The house adjusted. My daughter came back slowly, not all at once, but she started talking again, sitting at the table longer, letting small things matter. My youngest stopped asking when his mother was coming back. That question disappeared on its own. Dana tried to reconnect. At first, carefully. Messages, short visits, apologies that never fully formed into anything real. The kids kept their distance. Not angry, not loud, just done. You can't rebuild trust with words when your actions were planned months in advance. She learned that the hard way. I didn't interfere. I didn't help either. That wasn't my responsibility anymore. About a year in, I met Emily, school counselor, quiet, observant, the kind of person who listens all the way through before she speaks. No games, no pressure, no performance. Our first few conversations weren't even about relationships, just life, work, kids, loss, real things. She didn't try to fix anything, and I didn't need fixing. That was the difference. One evening, we sat on the deck after dinner, the air cool, the sound of leaves shifting in the dark. She asked me, "Do you ever think about going back?" I looked out into the yard for a moment before answering. "No," I said, not because I was angry, not because I needed to prove something, because there was nothing there to go back to. What Dana destroyed wasn't just a marriage. It was the illusion that it had ever been unbreakable. And once you see that clearly, you don't try to rebuild the same thing. You build something better, something honest. Dana lost the house, the stability, the version of herself she thought would always be protected no matter what she did. I didn't take it from her. She walked away from it. I just closed the door behind her. And for the first time in a long time, I knew exactly what my life was worth. And I didn't need anyone else to confirm it.